Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 323. Well, season's greetings to you all. Wow, here we are, countdown to the end of 2022. Want to thank you guys for making it such a great year for the Moose Podcast. It's been tremendous. Great stuff this past week from you guys. Again, I'm overwhelmed. So thank you so much. I also want to thank my good friend at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. If you head to their website, that's bedfords.com, and you'll, right off the bat, there's a banner that says Christmas goodies. Hey, click on it. You need ideas to give to your loved ones for your Christmas presents, plural there. They have a huge list. They got some cool stuff. They got a couple of telescopes. I didn't know they had telescopes. They got some cool stuff there on special Christmas savings. That a telescope. I was kind of like, wow, that's kind of cool. So hey, if you need that, or perhaps I know a person who got it for themselves, just picked up a Z9 from my good friends at Bedford's because they have them in stock. Along with anything else, they're the folks. Just remember to use that special discount code MOOSC. Save yourself 5% on your sale. Hey, Bedfords, thank you so much for all you do. Bedfords.com. Well, it's definitely winter time. One thing I want to throw out there, I'm going to have a post on it. See, I watch a lot of folks photographing birds in flight against a gray sky, or birds perched against a gray sky, because gray skies is kind of indicative to winter. Hey, there's a general rule of thumb in wildlife photography. Don't photograph a bird against gray sky. I'm talking about plain old flat, gray, overcast, yucky skies, not gray, dramatic, storm changing kind of skies. You know, when you're shooting up on a bird and you're shooting up, you're going to have what? The underside, which is going to be in shadow. You're going to have that against a gray sky. I mean, it's a no-win scenario. And keep in mind, there's a reason for, those things about gray day moods and stuff. Hey, it's just not going to work. So wintertime, gray skies go hand to hand. If you've got them, don't shoot a bird against that gray sky. Hey, I want to get right into this week's topic. Know the story first. Well, as photographers, we're constantly trying everything. At least I am. I should say I can't put this as a group thing, but I know as for myself, when I go out shooting, I'm trying as best I can to, you could say, clear my mind of yucca and life, and just get into the moment, where the moment is just an hour, cruising the forest here on the ranch, or, a week like I just happened to be so lucky to do down at Bosque del Apache. Whatever it is, I got to get to the point for myself, because like I say, I can't walk and chew gum, that my mind is, uh, bad pun, but focused on photography, and not focused on shutter speed apertures, but what do I want from my click? I mean, in all honesty, what do I want? Now, whether you're just starting out, you've been doing it for a while, like myself, or you're doing it for a long time, it's a challenge. It is a real challenge, I think, to really focus down on what you're seeing in that viewfinder, to do the dance, to eliminate elements that distract from the subject while including the subject, and then thinking about light and thinking about depth of focus, thinking about all those things, and then forgetting that stuff and keeping in mind the story you want to tell. Had a number of people have asked lately about this visual storytelling, about, how do you make that happen in a click? And I had a series of either 4 or 5 images on my Instagram account. For those people who, Meta decides they're going to let you see my stuff, that's a whole nother bone to pick. Anyway, a number of folks had picked up on the, I guess you could say, the lineage, the storytelling line, that I was doing on Sandhill Cranes. Like I mentioned, I was at Bosque, and Bosque, God bless those folks at the refuge who are really working behind the eight ball to make sure that our wild heritage has a place to go, and having to deal with photographers. There's signs that say do not go beyond that. I don't know why. There's big ass boulders, there's metal gates, there's signs, and I guess some just don't think they pertain to them. I saw two photographers in a car go right past the sign and just drive right down the dikes, not even on the tour route, right down the dikes. Because anyway, God bless those refuge people for putting up with that stuff. But I'm on that refuge, and it's the bird number, the quantity of birds are down, and I don't have an answer to why. I try to do research, but I never saw, for example, one blast off of snow geese like I would see multiples of in a day. I didn't see one, didn't have one. Cranes, they uh they weren't concentrated in any one place either. It was, if looking back at what I experienced in the '80s, it was a totally different Bosque, and yet it was still the same. Ansel was asked long ago, when paraphrasing, how many pictures it take to get a good one. His answer was one. So when it comes to getting that one, I started thinking that for myself, I need to know that story. I need to know in my head, you could say, a goal or a purpose or a reason. Watch photographers, and I see them all the time. I've talked about these panic photographers that just they walk in a panic. I only yell at one person. Felt very good to myself. I yelled at one person, and they were driving the wrong way on the road, and their headlights were going through everybody's lenses and almost hit a person. So I yelled at that person, but that person was in a panic because they thought they were going to miss the picture. But if you know the story first, you know the picture that you're looking for, that panic mode might never start. It might not even grow. Now, I realize that we are really jumping ahead here in the photographic thought process, the creative process, by assuming or even thinking that we could and can know the story first before we even go out shooting. So bear with me as I explain this, because I know I'm kind of going around and around. I think I'll get to the point at somewhere here, but a lot of people have been asking lately, how do I scout for a new location? Really great question. Oh yeah, I was told I'm not supposed to say that anymore. Not supposed to say that's a great question. Why don't people come up with these rules? I don't know. Anyway, um, the I think that's a great question. How do you scout? If you've never been someplace before, or in this case, I was going to Bosque and I knew a drought was in place. I knew the water regime was changed. I knew the birds were different. So even though I had been there, I knew the right hand and left hand turns to make to get there. I honestly didn't know what was going to be there when I got there, being Bosque. But doing that homework for that new location or one you're going to revisit, there's lots of strategies to doing that. I have a Kelby One class on going to Terry Badlands and the basic research I go through. And I did that for Bosque, and I found very little information from official sources or unofficial sources, even from the good old web, which of course is always accurate, about the current status of what's going on at Bosque. So that part of my homework I didn't have. So to know the story first, that part was a bit of a challenge. But in trying to think of the and know the story first, and know that word's not carved in stone. Have a gut feeling, a wish list, however you want to put it, for that story does a couple things, at least for me as a photographer, when I know that story first. The biggest thing for me is I can pack that bag of confidence, that camera bag, that kit. Having the right gear is really important. Now, here's the variable for myself. I don't want to carry a lot of stuff anymore. I used to, when I was a kid, like all of us, carrying 80 pounds on my back when I went backpacking in the Sierras and the San Gabriels, didn't think much of it. There's no way I'm putting 80 pounds on my back. There's no way I want to put 40 pounds on my back, 20 pounds on my back. I'm still like, oh, man. And I've got an injury to my thumb. So just, you know, getting that pack off and on the back, and not yank my thumb back. So knowing that gear, I'm really looking at more and more how I can have less and still have the same, if not more, focal length coverage I need to tell that story. And that's really important. The lenses that you need, not what Moose recommends or somebody else, what you need, and that's a whole nother process, depends on, of course, you, the photographer, the visual storyteller, but also the story you want to tell. What do you want to come back with? What one click do you want in the perfect world to sum it all up? That's a big challenge. And I went to Bosque with a couple of questions. I had to see for myself what was going on down there. Uh, it's just that curiosity I have for our wild heritage and how nature works. Also wanted to see photographically if I went back to my roots, as in the first 5 or 6 years I went to Bosque. I went by myself. It's just me, myself, and I for the week. So I wanted to see what it was like to go back in the old days and just be beating to my own drum. So I left here with a certain quest. Geese weren't part of that quest. I've Snow geese are a really cool species, and I loved photographing their blasts off. But they don't really wind my clock. I don't beat myself crazy getting geese shots or going after geese shots, or if I don't get the geese shot. But the cranes, those cranes, yeah, I started with cranes in a place called the Carrizo Valley in California, Soto Lake. And that's where Sharon and I fell in love with the sandhill cranes. And it's a place that they don't go anymore. It's not even there anymore, I don't think. And then we kept branching out. And that's why I went to Bosque, because of cranes that I wanted to see there in the Carrizo Plains, and then going to the Central Valley of California. Sharon and I put in time to get an actual reserve put aside with the California Fish and Game just for sandhill cranes. So that's what first took me to Bosque. And like I mentioned, I wanted to go back to those roots. So I was really focused in on the cranes. And as I've told my groups over and over and over again, when it comes to bird photography, you only need one bird who is really cooperative to make your shoot. That's all it takes. Now, if you have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of them, your odds of finding that one really, really, really exponentially go up there, right? But when the bird numbers are down, yeah, the odds go down. So that was the first formula. I wanted cranes. I'm looking for that one that's going to give me the unique, special Bosque story. Now, so know the story first before I left. So I wanted cranes, sandhill cranes. I wanted Bosque, and Bosque is New Mexico. So I needed birds, I needed landscape, I needed light, and I needed lots of luck. because just because you show up doesn't mean the critters are. So I went to Bosque, and the first morning, first afternoon, I got there on Sunday afternoon. First afternoon, it was dark, dark gray. If you look at the photograph that illustrates last week's podcast, that picture was taken from the first afternoon there at Bosque. And I was like, boy, kind of dark. Now, back in the day, one of the general things we used to look for was a wind blowing to the north with dark thunderheads in the north. And we would ask, or I asked for the snow geese to be in, they call it the North Loop now. I still call it the Farm Loop because they would have corn there and they would slowly harvest that corn and the geese would come in and feast on it and they blast off. And with that wind, they blast off down the lens barrel and you'd have these great white, beautiful birds with a dark sky behind them. If you come to the ranch, you see, come to the morning room, you'll see this big 24 by 36 print of exactly that. It's really quite tremendous. Well, that's all kind of changed, as I've already mentioned. So I'm at that exact spot, almost exact spot where that picture that hangs here at the house was taken, and they had mowed about two tractors worth of grain. Wasn't corn, and the cranes were going back and forth. I'm watching them, and I'm thinking about, okay, that photograph. I know the story first. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for cranes, Bosque, New Mexico landscape light. Ain't gonna get it this first time, but that's okay. I started to then look at what? I started looking at what's coming up. So first thing I did is I looked at the weather forecast. Ooh, was not looking really great. The next morning, okay, front was changing, the low was going, the high was pushing stuff in. That always means a little bit of wind, but also means some character. I'm looking at it, I'm going, looking at the week, bald skies, bald skies suck. So I'm looking for that one photograph to tell it one story. And I'm investing 5 days to get it. So I took with me back to know the story and the gear part of this. I took 4 lenses. I took the 800 millimeter, which never came out of the bag. Took the Z 400-45. I took the Z 24-120 and the Z 14 to 24-28. That was it. That was my entire kit. I had the 1.4 for the Z 400-45, and then I had the two Z9 bodies. And the entire time I shot with just the Z 400-45 with the 1.4 attached. And boy, that lens is spectacular. So I did my homework that first afternoon. I'm looking at the scenario. I'm looking where the sun comes up on the east and where it goes down in the west. I'm looking at the moon. I'm going, okay, that story. I know that story I want. So the next morning, I get out there and basically I'm by myself and I'm watching the cranes and they're lifting up, taking off, and they're heading a little bit north, and the wind takes them. They're going to the east, and then they're circling back around, and they'll do this quite often as the family groups kind of form up to go somewhere. And I'm watching that, and I'm getting the feel of the cycle going by. And then all of a sudden I look at the landscape, and in the landscape it's it's magical. All of a sudden, you've got these, and rarely do I ever see. I was got to go through my pictures, my old slides, to see if I can see this. You've got this kind of really low fog clouds that are right on the Black Mountains there, and they're just sucked into the canyons. I hadn't checked the dew point. One thing I forgot to do, and I'm watching them, and all of a sudden the light starts to come up, and it's just barely kissing the mountains themselves, that warm light, and you've got these gray clouds. Then I'm watching the cranes, and the cranes are circling like I was hoping and thinking, and I'm watching, and all of a sudden they go and they're going left to right, and they're just at the perfect distance for the image size I want. I already had in my mind that kind of that, like I said, that crane, New Mexico landscape light shot. And 10 minutes into the whole thing, boom, I got the shot that I've wanted for a long time. That story I want to tell because sandhill cranes, I photographed them in, everywhere from Florida, California, from Montana down to New Mexico, and every point in between. I've lesser and greater and Florida, all the. I've done them all. Got hundreds of thousands of crane shots, but the one with that story that I was looking for, I didn't have. Now I've got it. So know the story first. In the race to get the picture you want, to have the gear you need, to be in the right place, the right time, you kind of have to do a little bit of existential kind of thinking. You have to kind of put yourself out there. You could say you got to get outside your comfort range and be flexible just because you think you have that story, you know that you want first. Sometimes it doesn't unfold. You've got to go in and go to plan B or plan C or plan Z. I'm just suggesting that if you know the story first, before you go, the morning of, the minute you get out of your vehicle, the moment you put that camera to your eye, whatever moment, if you know the story first, I think it makes your photographic process simpler, the photography more successful, and that one click more rewarding. You guys have a great week, and remember to make every click your story.